Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told I had a voice for radio, so today I am delighted to talk about a completely new deck, which is coming around because of the recent release of Shining Legends. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we are playing a Shining Legends focused deck, and it's all about Venusaur and Shining Genesect. So before we get into the techs and the extra options, probably a good idea to talk about the decks as a bit of a whole. Now, firstly here, we have got Venusaur, Stage 2 Pokemon, 160 HP, which is weirdly about standard nowadays. Very meh attack, 80 for 4 energy. But what we love about Venusaur is the ability Jungle Totem. It means that each of your basic grass energy count as 2 grass energy. Yay! And while we're here, Rainbow Energy will not count twice. It says basic grass, not grass. So even though Rainbow Energy is a grass energy when attached to a Pokemon, it won't be doubled. It also says you can't apply more than 1 Jungle Totem ability at a time. So that means that you can't get 4 Venusaur out and all of your grass energy count quintuple. It's just double here, but that's good enough. Now we need a good attacker if we're going to be taking full advantage of this ability, and we've got one in Shining Legends. It's Shining Genesect. 130 HP is fine. You can always use Fighting Fury about if you really want to boost it up. Retreat cost of 2 is a little bit expensive. Weakness to fire is awkward, as we'll get to in a minute. But what I really like here is the ability and the attack. The ability Energy Reload means you can move a grass energy from one of your other Pokemon to this Pokemon. So once during your turn, you can just nab a grass from one of your other pokes. And what's awesome here is that Rainbow Energy will count. This says grass energy, not basic, and Rainbow Energy is a grass when it's attached. Yay! And then you've got Gaia Blaster, which for anyone who used to play Keldeo EX, which was probably a fair few of you, will look incredibly familiar. 50 damage plus 20 for each grass energy attached, for free colourless. Now you could pay this with just double colourless energy and a fairy energy, but you would only be doing 50 damage. Whereas if you had free grass energy, you'd be doing 110. And now at this stage, I'm hoping if you didn't know already, you're starting to see the combo. What you do here is you have Venusaur, and then you attach 2 grass energy to Shining Genesect, except they actually count as 4 grass energy. So instead of doing 110 for free energy, which is fine, you're actually doing 130 for 2 energy, which is starting to look really, really good. And that essentially is the deck. You just get energy on Shining Genesect, you double them up with Venusaur, and then all of a sudden you're just sitting there doing a whole bunch of damage, hopefully for a fairly low amount of energy. Now there are a few things to point out at the beginning here. You are hitting weakness against Lycanroc. Now I know Lycanroc isn't seeing a huge play at the moment, but yesterday I uploaded a video about how Zoroark is wrecking in Japan, and I'm not exaggerating by the way, it is absolutely wrecking in Japan. Check that one out, but essentially with Zoroark, Lycanroc gets an awful lot better. So an increase in play in Lycanroc will make this even better. We have lost Forest of Giant Plants, which is a little bit upsetting, because that would be a way to get Venusaur evolved nice and quickly. But you only need 1 Venusaur. You can use Rare Candy. We all figured that Decidueye was going to see a huge drop in play to nothing when Forest of Giant Plants rotated out of Standard and got banned in Expanded. But Decidueye is still seeing play. And Decidueye is still winning tournaments. And 1 Venusaur is better than 1 Decidueye. Although many Decidueye is better than 1 Venusaur. So you know what? Rare Candy here should do just fine. And as I mentioned a moment ago, weakness to fire is a little bit of an issue. But it depends how quickly you can add up energy. So let's take something like a Ho-Oh GX. 190 HP sounds like a lot. But if you can get free basic energy onto a Genesect, that means you're doing 60, plus the 50 is 110 total. You get a Venusaur out and you're doing 120, plus the basic 50 is 170. Add a Choice Band, you're now doing 200. So with Venusaur's ability, if you can get free energy on a Genesect, you're doing 200 and getting a one-hit KO on a Ho-Oh. And at this stage, I find it prudent to remind you all that Genesect is a non-GX Pokemon giving up one prize. So when I'm talking about getting one-hit KOs on GXs, the prize race will be hilariously in your favour. As long as you can get energy out fast enough, you will outspeed them. The big issue, however, is the non-EX or baby Volcanion. That is a little bit of an issue because they will be able to add up with things like Steam Up to getting a KO moderately quickly. 2 Steam Ups and they're doing 160 through your weakness, which is a little bit sad. But then again, ladies and gentlemen, we've always got other options here to try and mitigate that. Now, there are some other cards we need to be considering here. You should be playing Choice Band because doing extra damage is always good. Yes, I know Venusaur's doubling your energy, which means you're doing extra damage. I don't care. Doing extra damage is always good. Now, you might consider playing a couple of stadiums here. You've got Ether Paradise Conservation Area, which will reduce damage done to Genesect by 30, because Genesect is a basic grass Pokemon. And you've got Altar of the Sun, which will remove your fire weakness. So essentially, Ether Paradise Conservation Area is great against everything, but Altar of the Moon is phenomenally good against Volcanion/Ho-Oh decks. Both of these stadiums have the exact same downside though, and it's something I've talked about before. Your opponent dictates whether these see use. They take effect when your opponent attacks, which means before your opponent attacks, they can either play a counter stadium or a field blower, get rid of the stadium, and then it does nothing. That is upsetting, ladies and gentlemen. But there's not much you can do about it, except cross your fingers and hope. But they won't always have a counter stadium, and they won't always have a field blower. Sometimes it will stick, and when it does stick, oh, lordy, it's fun. Now, Max Elixir for me seems crucial in any Shining Genesect Venusaur deck. Yes, I know you're doubling energy with Venusaur, don't care. You want as much energy as you can possibly get away with here. And the great thing about this deck, the wonderful, brilliant, amazing thing about this deck is that you can just use Shining Genesect's ability to move an energy over whenever you feel like it. So pop an energy on a Bulbasaur turn 1. You can just move it over to a Genesect in the mid to late game. Put it on a Tapu Bulu and move it over. I don't care. As long as you've got a basic Pokemon on your bench of any description, you can get the energy on Shining Genesect. And what's amazing here is that you've got Max Elixir, but you want it on the active. Most decks cannot get around this. You can. Max Elixir onto anything on your bench. It doesn't even have to be a grass Pokemon. It could be something like a Tapu Lele. Then you can use Energy Reload to get the energy on Shining Genesect. Life is good. You could also play double colourless energy here. Maybe you use attackers like Tapu Lele or Snorlax, but it will hurt your Max Elixir. So something to bear in mind. I don't know how confident I am about double colourless energy here. Now, there are some other Pokemon to consider. You've got Tapu Bulu. Tapu Bulu is still a great attacker. Here, 2 energy will mean you can do 180, but you have to discard them both, and you have to then keep getting energy onto Tapu Bulu. Generally, I much prefer Shining Genesect as an option. I mean, with Venusaur out, you get 2 energy on there, and they both count double, so it's essentially 4. Tapu Bulu's doing 120, 180 if you discard the energy. Shining Genesect with essentially 4 energy on there is doing 130. Slightly better than Tapu Bulu if you don't discard, but of course, you've got the option of adding more than 2 energy and you're a non-GX Pokemon. I do worry sometimes that if you have too much energy on there, it'll get KO'd and then you won't be able to get the energy on a new Shining Genesect. But that really is an in-game resource management issue rather than a deck building issue. You could even here just play any colourless attacker. Something like Tapu Lele, because let's face it, you're gonna be playing Tapu Lele anyway. Little bit bulkier. Although, and I really need to make this clear, your energy counts double all the time. So when you're against a Tapu Lele or a Gardevoir, it will count like you've got double energy. So piling energy onto a Tapu Lele will make you very vulnerable against stuff like Tapu Lele or Gardevoir, something to bear in mind. You could even chuck in Snorlax here. 3 energy rather than 5 sounds fairly cool. You can use Max Elixir. You could go 2 energy and a double colourless. I don't know how great Snorlax would be with Venusaur, but I think it's worth chucking one in and testing it. But I am a huge fan of Snorlax. And you could play the non-GX Lurantis here to add extra damage, or even Lurantis GX here, because don't forget Lurantis GX has a really cool GX attack that does 50 damage for every energy attached to Lurantis, every grass energy, and Venusaur will help it count double. But generally, my rule is, if you're playing a Stage 2, back it up with basics. You don't really want a Stage 2 where you also need a Stage 1. That, ladies and gentlemen, is Clunk City. You will be a bit vulnerable to ability lock here, which sucks, but the good news is, because Venusaur is a Stage 2, Alolan Muck won't turn off the ability. It will for Genesect, but it won't for Venusaur. Really, it's just Garbodor here and, I don't know, play Field Blower. It's not the end of the world, you will just have to work around it. And the other thing is, and it's not really something I can get into in this video, although maybe a video in the future, we'll see how we go. You can play Rainbow Energy for Genesect, and you can use Energy Reload to move Rainbow Energy onto Genesect. So, as a side note here, if you're ever looking for a grass attacker, you don't need to play Grass Energy for Genesect. If you're playing Rainbow Energy and need a grass attacker, keep Shining Genesect in mind. But ladies and gentlemen, this is a stage where I want to know what you think about this deck. Do you think it could be a contender? Do you think there are any problems? Do you think there are any other attackers that I'm just not mentioning that I should? All of these questions, go down in the comments, go nuts, be nice. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus pods, and there's one coming out later. Well, probably tomorrow, but soon. Then hit me up at patreon.com/PTCGRadio. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.